In the quiet village of Umudim, where the trees danced gently with the wind and the air smelled of fresh earth after the rain, Eze walked under the old mango tree. His hands moved skillfully, creating beautiful paintings, vivid landscapes, portraits, and scenes of life in his village. But there was one portrait he painted the most, a woman with bright eyes and a warm smile. Jide, his best friend, picked up one of the paintings one afternoon. "Who is this?" Eze looked at him. "I don't know," he said, "but I feel like she's real somewhere." Jide laughed. "Maybe she's a spirit from your dreams." Eze only smiled. Deep inside, he believed that one day he would meet her. One evening, just as the sun was setting, Eze had finished arranging his paintings when a young woman stopped by. She picked up one of the vibrant portraits, one of the many he had painted of her. She turned it over in her hands. "Where did you see this?" Eze felt his heart beat faster. It was her. The same bright eyes, the same warm smile. "I never saw her," Eze said slowly. "I just imagined." The woman looked at him closely. "That's strange, because this is me." Her name was Joy. She had just moved to Umudim to help her aunt with her fabric business. She was full of laughter, always asking questions, and had a way of making everything around her feel alive. From that day, Joy would stop by Eze's shed every evening, watching him paint as they talked about everything. Her childhood, his dreams, their fears. They laughed, teased each other, and shared quiet moments. One night under the mango tree, Eze gently held her hands. "Joy, I think I've loved you before I even met you." She smiled, running her fingers over his palm. "And I think I was always meant to find you." Their love grew stronger, like a tree that had survived many seasons. Just when Eze thought life couldn't be more perfect, Joy received a message. Her father was sick and she had to leave immediately. Eze's heart ached. He wanted to ask her to stay, to tell her he couldn't imagine a day without her laughter, but he knew she had to go. "I will wait for you," he whispered, pressing a small painted pendant into her palm. Joy looked up at him, tears in her eyes. "And I'll find my way back to you." Days passed, then weeks, then months. Joy's letters stopped coming in. No one knew where she was. One evening, Jide found Eze sitting outside staring at the sky. "You need to move on, my friend," he said gently. Eze shook his head. "I can't. Something doesn't feel right." "I have to find her," Jide sighed. "Eze, you don't even know where to start." Eze's face was set with determination. "Then I will start where she left off." For the first time in his life, Eze left Umudim. Eze walked for miles, stopping in every village, asking for Joy. Most people shook their heads. Some had seen a woman like her, but didn't know where she went. One afternoon, exhausted and hopeless, he arrived at a town where a river had flooded months ago. People spoke of a young woman who had helped rebuild their homes. She stayed until the work was done, an old woman told him. Then she left, saying she had to return to her family. Eze's heart rest. He followed every clue, every story, until he reached a small town by the mountains. And there, sitting under an old tree, was Joy. Joy! She looked up, startled, her eyes filled with tears. "Eze," he took a deep breath. "You didn't come back." Joy stood, her hands shaking. "I tried, I wrote, but I lost everything in the flood. I had to start over. And then I didn't know if you would still be waiting." Tears rolled down her cheeks as she ran into his arms. "I thought I had lost you." "You could never lose me," he whispered, holding her tightly. When they returned to Umudim, Eze wasted no time. Under the same mango tree where their love had grown, he knelt before Joy. "I waited for you, Joy, and now I don't want to waste another moment. Will you be my wife?" Tears streamed down her face as she nodded yes. Eze, 1,000 times yes. The village erupted in celebration. Women sang joyful songs as they pounded yams and cooked large pots of rice. Men brewed fresh palm wine and drummers filled the air with lively rhythms. Joy's family arrived and the traditional wedding was held With full honor, Asa's family presented gifts of yams, kola nuts, and fine wrappers. The elders blessed their union, praying for love, peace, and many children. As the sun set, Joy danced gracefully, her hands moving like flowing water, while Asa watched her with his eyes full of love. When it was his turn, he took her hand, pulling her close. From now on, he whispered, we dance together. A year later, Joy gave birth to twin boys, strong, healthy, and full of life. The villagers rejoiced, calling them Obinna and Chijoke, the heart of the father, and God gives joy. As Eze painted small portraits of his sons, he smiled, remembering the journey that had led them here. Love had tested them, time had challenged them, but in the end, patience, faith, and destiny had won. And for generations, people told the tale of Eze and Joy, the man who waited, the woman who found her way back, and the love that stood the test of time. Moral lessons. Faith may bring people together, but choices keep them together. When love is real, distance cannot break it. Sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone for the ones you love.